Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm so excited to have everybody here for the first ever Black and African American alumni panel. We have some wonderful guests joining us tonight, all alum, and our special guest, our moderator, whose name is Dre Parsons, who is the alumni coordinator out of the LA office. For any of you who are students now or graduates, she's a wonderful resource, and I really invite you to connect with her either this evening or sometime later this week via email. But let me introduce our wonderful panel. So first, coming on screen, we have Melinda Graves, who has an MFA in producing, and she has worked on a number of productions, including Petrolhead Planet, Head to Head, Ignition, Hot Rod Garage, Engine Masters, Best Driver's Car, World's Greatest Drag Race, The Racing Line, Junkyard Gold, Throttle Out, Put Up or Shut Up, Tire Rack Hot Laps, Pebble Beach Concourse, Motor Trend Presents Defying the Elements. She's the assistant producer on that, and the 200 Mile Per Hour Club. So welcome to you, Melinda. Thanks for joining us. Next, we have Gina Simone Paris, who is Trinidad and Tobago native. She's an actor, writer, producer, and filmmaker, and has been involved in entertainment in Trinidad and Tobago for approximately 12 years. She moved then to the United States, where she continued pursuing her entertainment career, where she graduated from NYFA with a MFA for film with honors. She's acted on stage in various TV shows and films in Trinidad and Tobago cinema. Gina is the founder and CEO of Gina Paris Entertainment Limited, which celebrated its 10-year anniversary in 2020. In addition to a number of other accomplishments, Ms. Paris has co-produced a short for co-creator Mr. Freddie Basnight, and it won 19 awards so far. Currently, she's producing her first docuseries, which is created by her and named Like a Dog with a Bone. And it's a visual guide to surviving the entertainment industry. So I think you guys would all do well to check it out. And there's much, she has many more accomplishments, and but for the interest of time tonight, we have to trim them down. We also welcome Samuel McKnight. Samuel was born in Germany and grew up as a military brat in Lawton, Oklahoma. At an early age, around 9, he started recording music videos on his VCR. And developed a strong passion for the world of music videos. Every summer, he'd travel to Mississippi with his dad, listening to music while visualizing moving images. It was on those road trips where his passion continued to develop towards an ability to tell musically driven stories in a unique fashion. In 2011, when he was serving in the US Army, he bought a DSLR and iMac computer and started shooting artist music videos and photography in his hometown. When his military career ended in 2013, he moved to LA and attended NYFA, where he obtained both a certificate in 1-year photography and the 2-year filmmaking degree. At the same time, while Sam was attending school, he mentored with music video directors such as Taj Stansbury, and interned at Robot Films with the film pioneer Chris Robinson. After learning more about the industry and gaining experience, he's directed a number of music videos. Next, we have Elon Joy Washington. Welcome. So Elon is a screenwriter and community organizer with a passion for providing visibility for underrepresented voices. She studied English and film and media at the University of Florida, film and television at Savannah College of Art and Design, and received her MFA in screenwriting from NYFA. She's the founder of the Black Film Allegiance, a virtual platform promoting collaboration and creative opportunities for up-and-coming filmmakers of color. And last but not least, we have Abraham Jackie, who studied BFA in film. He's currently a producer, but he's pivoted during these trying times to being a COVID compliance officer and coordinator, working for Gordon Ramseys season 11 of MasterChef, and now Foodtastic Disney Plus show. Keke Palmer has been tapped as a host of Disney Plus's upcoming unscripted built competition series Foodtastic. He'll also executive produce the series, in which contestants are challenged to create Disney-inspired works of art made out of food. NYC City Cakes founder Chef Benny Rivera and Flower Shop founder Amira Kasim will serve as judges for Foodtastic. The 11-episode series started production this week and is slated to premiere on Disney Plus later this year. So he's also produced several music videos with Sam McNight. So we have a wonderful panel, and we welcome and greet you with gratitude for joining us for the first time ever. I am going to step off stage and hand the mic over to Dre for our guests. If you have questions, please chat them in the Q&A and I will feed them to our esteemed panelists. All right, thank you guys all for joining.
Jackie, thank you so much for those wonderful introductions. You guys, thank you all for being here. As Jackie said, you are definitely volunteering your time to sit down and talk to us tonight. And it's a Monday. I know you've got things to do, so we really appreciate you all for coming. I'm super excited for this because it's really intriguing to be able to actually physically kind of talk to you all and talk to alumni. I talk to a lot of alumni via email and through the website and all that other stuff, but I very rarely get a chance to do it like this, where I get to see your faces and really just chat about your experience now that you are NYFA alum. You guys are no longer students, right? Like, not officially, I should say. But the first thing I wanted to kind of break the ice with a little bit is we're all gathered here for this particular event because it is Black History Month. And I'm going to go around and I would like to ask each and every one of you in 3 words, what does Black History Month mean to you professionally? Like in a professional sense. I'm going to start with Melinda because you're on my left of my screen right now. She's like, why no?
Well, I wasn't thinking professionally. I was going to say Black-owned business, but at the same time, that is kind of professional as well. I'm going to say in 3 words, diverse, forward, and gratitude.
I like those. Diverse, forward, and gratitude. Gina, I'm going to have you come next because you're the next one on my screen.
I would say empowerment, creativity, and strength.
Love it. Love it. Empowerment, creativity, and strength. Sam, you are next.
Was thinking the same thing. Empowerment, unified, and Black.
And Black, yes. Okay, I love that. And Elon, go ahead.
I'd say excellence, resilience, and legacy.
I love that. And that's all I can see on my screens right now. I know we lost one. I think he'll pop up when he can. And when we get him, we'll get his review as well. First of all, awesome. So let's get started. You guys, I know that everybody's journey at NYFA is a little different. But the one thing I can almost guarantee is you guys all probably heard the word networking when you guys got here. Immediately, right away. Real quick, just you guys can chime in. How many of you knew what that actually meant before it was said to you? Like, right? A little bit of, or did everybody kind of have an idea of what you thought networking was? I heard the word even when I was, going to school. And I mean, I'm a people person, as you can tell. I'm not shy. I like talking. So meeting people and talking to strangers is nothing new to me. But my question to you is, what was the moment where you realized, like, hey, I've kind of got this networking thing down? Do you still feel like you struggle with networking? I want you guys to give the alumni who are in here listening to you all, what are some of your tips about networking, and maybe just describe a little bit about your own personal networking experiences. Who would like to go first? I'm going to let you guys choose this time.
I'll go.
Okay, go ahead.
So for me, networking is never my forte. I still struggle with networking, but what I've learned is that if you network around, like on your same level, like you can get a lot accomplished. It's good to try to network up, but I think in your immediate space, like for, projects that are like you want to do next week or something like that. Like I live in an apartment building with just three apartments in it. And the apartment that I live in, everybody's in film. The apartment in the back is in film. So we've all gotten together and done projects together. So I think that kind of networking helps out as well. So just networking on your level and then spreading out and branching and then creating these projects and getting them done.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've heard that referred to as networking across versus networking like up. Even though you want to always networking up, there's nothing wrong with that, but that networking across tends to be where you start seeing your movements. That's really great, Melinda. Anyone else want to chime in? Gina?
I would like to say something. So I've been in entertainment for over 12 years, and I have networked with people at my level and also people who are more established. I am very bold. I guess it comes with being an actress. And my motto is, the worst they can tell you is no. So I am
right. Yeah, it's the worst thing to know. And okay.
yeah, so yeah. I have, for me, when I network, I think being authentic, showing people that you're passionate and also that you're willing to also give as opposed to only take help is a very good asset, and it causes your relationship with that person when you network to last a long time. And I would say that, for example, I'll mention someone that you all can relate to. Marla Gibbs is considered a legend in the US. I have seen her acting since I have been in Trinidad, and I didn't even dream to come to the US. And I met her daughter, Angela Gibbs, and she taught me acting via Skype in Trinidad, even before I ever dreamt of coming to LA. And that was over 10 years ago. And even she is a good teacher. She's my acting coach today, but the point is we maintain that relationship. I came out to LA, continue building on the relationship, and I was bold enough to text her one day and was like, "Oh, Angela, can you please can you and your mom do an interview for Like a Dog with a Bone?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'll talk to her." And bottom line, they did the interview, so they aren't Like a Dog with a Bone, but it's just an example of how nurturing relationships really pays off. And she knows I'm passionate. No one cares to really help you after they network with you when they realize you just want to sit on your butt. I don't want to say the A word, but yes, being real. I've had people who are really supportive from Trinidad who are celebrities and at my level as well. For example, Nikki Crosby, who is the first female stand-up comedian from the Caribbean, So I really want people to don't be pretentious. People see through that. Be real, be authentic, ask for what you want in a respectful way, but also show that you are not selfish and you're not a user.
That's a really good, one of the points that you made, I really want to grab onto, because it's something that's helped me as well in my own personal career, but in others that I know, is that yes, when you're being bold and being what's the word, confident enough to kind of ask for something, right, is a really good thing. But if you can also offer something in return,
exactly,
you're far more likely to maintain or
exactly
for there to be a relationship to even cultivate and maintain. So that is a really great point. My friends and I even, I've been in the industry for a little over 15 years now, I think. Goodness, birthday's coming up next week or next month. I mean, goodness. But even the most successful things I've ever done were both a mixture of what both of you said. I still work with people I went to undergrad with and high school with. I'm doing stuff with people I went to high school with, and that was even longer ago, but that networking across is really great. And then also always having something to give in return. I will light your thing if you can help me, if you can answer a couple questions to me about whatever. Like, it's really that kind of trading of services and trading of needs. You probably almost always have a skill that can be useful to the person that you have asked for. That's really great. Sam, Elon, you guys want to chime in? Anything about networking for you guys?
Yeah, networking, I say it has its pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came into the business, I lived in Oklahoma, and I wanted to network with Taj. I seen his work, and I was, I fell in love with it. And coming out here, and then, actually talking to one of the people I, actually look up to, and networking with him and meeting him. And the biggest thing he was telling me was like, I can lead you to the pond, but I can't make you drink it. I need you to learn everything on your own, because you need to start a legacy, not, for what you want to do for yourself. So
yeah, for sure.
And I came out here, and that's what I did. I networked with any and everybody I could, network with. The biggest thing was
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Abraham, welcome. He's welcome. We can absolutely hear you. Welcome back.
So one of the biggest thing was, just hitting people up on social media, and them actually, hitting me back up like, yo, your work is fantastic. Let's connect, let's meet up for a cup of coffee, things like that. From there.
Can I ask you a little bit, and Elon and Abraham, I want to get to you guys too. You mentioned hitting people up over social media and stuff like that. When they look at you, right? If we go onto your Instagram right now, we will see your work, right? Do you feel like it's important to showcase your work on your social medias like that, so that when you do, get bold enough to try to network with someone you don't know via that way, they have something visual that they can see?
Absolutely. They want to see what your style is. They want to see where have you been, where have you gone, like cinematically, and see what story are you trying to convey, and what story you're trying to tell.
Right.
Look at that a lot.
Got you. Awesome. Elon, what you think? Networking, any words, any thoughts?
I originally thought that it was harder than it actually is. I think I used to think networking was like, especially because in my undergrad, I didn't go to a school that was solely for creatives. There were people entering all types of spaces there. So when I went to job fairs and stuff, it looked so serious. Everyone's wearing suits and had business cards or whatever. But obviously in our industry, it's a lot different, because sometimes it'd be over drinks, and oftentimes people are just wearing t-shirts. So my whole perception of it sort of changed when I started doing it for real, and realizing that I had already been doing it, but just didn't consider it as networking. I was just making friends with people that had shared interests with me. So in reshaping the way that I thought about it, it became a lot easier.
Say that one more time. Say that last part was very important. When you reshaped what you actually thought networking was, what is it? What is it to you? What has networking been in your career so far? What does it actually tangibly look like?
Yeah, for me, it means connecting with people that have shared interests and goals as you, and seeing how that lines up. But you make organic friendships and connections through that, as opposed to only hitting somebody up for opportunity for a job. Sometimes, it's just planting the seed for a relationship to grow, as opposed to the immediate outcome that you might expect or hope for it to be at the time.
That's really good. That's really good. That's really well put. You guys, all of you, great thoughts on networking. One of the reasons why I added this question to today's panel is because for those of us for people who aren't like people persons, I'm an extrovert. So like talking to strangers, again, is not an issue for me. But I have been in the past very like, I don't know how I want to maneuver this, it gets you start getting in your head a little bit. But like Elon definitely said, it's networking is what you've almost always done with like your classmates and with people that are next to you, people that are in your circle, like you said, shared interests, and then you move from there, and then you can network across, to add what Melinda said, and all of you can eventually network up with things that you might have. And then it's just, this industry is very team oriented in that way. So that's really, really great that you guys mentioned that. Abraham, we were talking about networking and like how some like tips that we can give the alumni that are on the that are listening, tips on networking. We lost him again. No worries. Let's move on. Next question, you guys. So everyone here is a NYFA alumni. Before you answer this question, just make sure to let everyone know what campus you went on before you were at before you answer this. Is there a particular moment or a particular lesson from NYFA that you find yourself coming back to while you're working on your current projects or projects you've worked on in the past professionally? And if so, what was it? Go ahead and give us that lovely little anecdote. I'm gonna go backwards this time. Elon, you're going first.
Because I was a screenwriting major, I pull from stuff I got from school every day because, you know, in terms of the breakdown for structure and story, I have to apply that to everything, even in giving notes to other people in development. So probably that's the main thing I use the most, is just literally what they taught me in class in terms of how to break down a story.
Okay, breaking down like actual, like the skills, like the breakdown, script breakdowns, breaking down stories, stuff like that. And how has that worked for you? Can you give us one more? I know Jackie read our bios, but who have you been working with and who are you currently working with now?
Previously, right after NYFA, I started at Monkeypaw Productions. And then after that, I'm now with Matthew Cherry under Warner Brothers TV.
If for those who don't know, Monkeypaw Productions is Jordan Peele's company. You've seen movies like Get Out, Us, and so on and so forth. That's Monkeypaw. And then you're working with Matthew Cherry right now, correct? And Oscar award winning, correct? For Hair Love and some other cool projects, director on a couple of really cool projects as well. You're doing pretty well. Good job, everybody. All of you are, but I just wanted to, I know the bios got read, but I want to make sure everyone knows we're talking to amazing people here. Sam, let's go with you next. Regards to like something you can remember that you got from NYFA that you use either regularly or on something in particular. Give us what you got.
Shot list. That's, for me, it's that shot list. I'll never forget sitting down trying to understand the shot list. How I go to every time we, you know, getting ready for this music video, the commissioners at the labels, that's the first thing they want before, you know, we shoot the music video. They need that shot list. So
let's give some folks some free game. Give us a quick, like, one sentence. What's a shot list, and why would a record label want to know a shot list for a music video in particular?
Well, a shot list is a list of the shots. When I say list of your shots, like a medium shot, a close-up shot, a wide shot, and you know the labels want to know, you know, what are you trying to shoot when you shoot this music video?
And how long it's going to take and how many, because it's everything.
It's time. The time is
ticking. Time is money. Exactly. Awesome. And Gina, what do you got? Anything in particular you can remember that you got from NYFA that you use regularly or in a past project?
Yeah. So this one. So I am a person that's very upfront. I tell you as like it is, regardless if you're a teacher, whoever, I'm not afraid of authority. So I remembered and more. I think I'm sorry, I did MFA in acting for film, and I'm from the Los Angeles campus, specifically Baham Boulevard in the acting building. So Ann Moore, a teacher from that campus, her first encounter with me wasn't very pleasant. I wasn't dealing with her, but what she witnessed, I was being a bit confrontational with someone else. And even though what I was telling that person is true, I wasn't very tactful. For me, is however you take it, you know? Right. So I do not think, Anne, if she can correct me, but I do not think she liked me from that. But later on, I think it was my last semester, we were doing scene study, and she became my teacher for that semester. And she got to know me and she grew to like me. But I remembered teachers, well, I don't know if they do it for other degrees, but for the actors, teachers would have one-on-one with us, you know? So I had a one-on-one with Anne Moore, and you know, we were talking and she mentioned about that trait, you know. By then I had toned down some, but she mentioned that trait, and she was saying that I'm a nice person. Just paraphrasing because it was years ago. I'm a nice person and stuff like that. But the important thing is being honest is not an issue. It's how you say what you say. And that has a ripple effect, which can affect you in your professional life.
Right,
You
right.
know?
Kind of
So
knowing time and place and time, place,
exactly,
and that
you
wonderful
know,
mix of when and where and how to
yeah,
express
you know, and being tactful. My thing was to be more tactful,
Sure.
you know, and it will go a long way in a positive way. Is she wasn't telling me to be fake, but just be mindful of how I relate to some people. I mean, it wasn't all the time I would do it, you know, but I really appreciate that, and I would remember that, you know, and it helps in my professional relationships when I do remember. I'm a lot less feisty. I remember the dean at that campus was like, oh, you remember somebody he studied with in Trinidad, and that person was feisty too. So, you know, I turned down. So I remember that I took that crucial lesson away besides my classes, obviously.
That's a good lesson. And I'm going to add an extra one on top of it that you didn't even mention, but it's the simple fact that you were able to take the criticism and be coachable at all in a situation like that. That works for does not matter what field you're in, is to be able to receive a note, a criticism, whatever, take it and figure out what version of it you want to take for yourself to still maintain to be yourself, right?
Exactly.
But also understand that, okay, you know, there might be a different way to move in this particular instance. I don't want to lose Abraham, so I want to give him a chance to answer a question. Sir, we're talking about hello.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. We're literally just talking about lessons that we've learned at NYFA, or that you might have learned at NYFA that you use on a regular basis in your career. Go before.
Okay. I would say, as far as things that I've taken from NYFA to use in my professional career, definitely the things that I learned literally as far as how to the structure of productions, meaning how equipment works, meaning how, because I've literally done jobs from production to G&E to, I mean, literally all over. And I've been able to implement the things that I've learned from school, taken from, you know, all the courses that I took at NYFA, and utilize them in whatever type of job that I'm doing for whatever production that it is. So yes, first off, I wanted to say sorry for me being in and out. I'm literally traveling cross state, guys, from Phoenix, Arizona. You guys caught me in all the like dead pockets. Signal was horrible.
Right.
Yeah, literally. So trust me, I'm up trying to do emails and things like that now. Try to head back and get right back to work here tomorrow. So
we're happy that you're here, and like, you know, even in the midst of driving across the state. So just glad that you're here and donating your time to us, and giving time to everyone and all of our lovely participants. You guys, there are I don't know if you noticed, but we have 73 wonderful guests listening to this conversation. So that is amazing. And then Melinda, I think you're the last one to answer this lovely question.
So I did the MFA Producing for Film and Television program, and I was at the LA campus. And I think the thing that I use most is that your schedule, budget, and script are all intertwined. And so if one changes, then you gotta check the other two.
That is perfect practical information right there. That's perfect. Jackie, did you have anything to add to us, or are you just here jumping in?
I'm jumping in with questions from the audience. And I also want to say, Gina, if you didn't get to see the Q&A, your instructor is here and heard your anecdote, and she said that warms her heart. So I think that also speaks to,
that's great.
It speaks to, you know, like one of the things that I say to the students at orientation is make sure that an instructor or somebody on campus knows who you are and how you are. And you did that. So well done, Gina. So we have a question from, and so we have a question from David, and he asks, how do you guys promote Black culture in the space and career that you found for yourselves? I think that we're probably stealing from your batch of questions, but I'm throwing that in and I'm going to disappear into the background again. And I'm going to ask
the next question, but that's cool.
Thank you, David, for reading her mind. And then we also have one more question that, while I'm here, so I don't step in twice, is advice for a high school student who's looking at coming into this industry. So if you guys have thoughts on that, Dre, you order the questions as you will. Going back behind the curtain, guys.
Yeah, you guys, let's start with the first part of that. How do we promote Black culture, or how do you promote Black culture? I know the part of this conversation or this question that I was thinking of is the fact that, you know, in the last year especially, but in, I would say several years or so, diversity, inclusion, and all of these big, lovely marketing words have come into the industry, and they're a bit louder. They're a little louder than they usually are. I'm old enough to know that this happens about every decade or so, in a different way, and it shows up in a different way. So you guys, I want you guys, whoever wants to start with this question, go ahead and jump in. How do you guys do that within your industry? If you have a lovely anecdote, feel free to share it. And then I also would love to, we'll go back to that high school student advice. We'll go that back as a separate question. Who wants to start? Gina wants to start. We're letting Gina go.
Okay, so clearly I'm from the Caribbean. You hear to my accent. And when I do my productions, because I'm actor, writer, producer, I really focus on incorporating not just my Caribbean people, but also people from the US as well. You know, it's a different culture, it's different talents, and I love to marry that in my productions. So that is how I deal with integrating diversity into my productions. As an actress, I remember when I auditioned for the Brogan agency. That's the agency I'm signed with. And as a selling point, I was like, I can speak with an American accent. And they were like, you know, it's not an issue. You know, there's a lot of diversity now. They welcome diversity. So they did not stress me out over my accent. And I only switch accents when I have an audition. And I realize when it comes to a foreigner, you want representation that markets everything that you want to bring, that you can bring to the table, including your country of origin or place of origin. And I'm from, as I said, I'm from the Caribbean. And what I love about them is that they don't only send auditions for Caribbean people my way. I have auditioned to be an American actress, British, African, you know, Caribbean, and that's what you want, someone to push you, someone to acknowledge what you have, even though it's different from the mainstream culture, and present that when they're trying to market you to get a job as an actor, you know? So that's what I have to say.
That was good. That was good. I'm gonna go to Melinda for this one, for just a little. Just want to hear her voice a little more.
So for me, I work at a company where their audience is basically white male, from like a certain age parameter. And I find it more easy, if I want to say it that way, to like, since I'm behind the scenes, you know, trying to help them recognize that we need a bit more diverse programming, which they've already recognized, and they've already like started, you know, making that effort towards moving it, but also like giving suggestions and making sure like, you know, this is a good way to stay accountable, and having everyone participate in the accountability of keeping the programs and the departments within diverse. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
No, just to get some context, I know a few of the I know some of the shows that you based off your bio and things that you've worked on, but can you give us like a description of the type of shows you work on so that everyone understands exactly what you mean by the type of audience that they're
yeah. So I essentially work with a bunch of cars. So whether it's car builds, fast cars, luxurious cars, hoopties, deal with races, all that kinds of stuff. So typically,
it's a generally very male
yeah,
audience, generally very white audience.
yeah,
generally.
absolutely, yeah. So for me, you know, being there and working on these programs, I'm literally the only Black female when I go out to set to work. And so like I have pictures and like we're all the crew are like standing there and like we're on the photo smiling, yeah, but I'm literally the only Black female or the only female on set. So so just like trying to make sure like I have a small voice in, you know, letting my superiors know like, hey, you know, we can move this way or we can do this to help create that diversity. And then also too, when I'm on set, or moving forward for me, I'm making sure that I have a bit more diverse crew members as well too. Because before I hadn't really had a chance to do that because there's a lot of freelancers that were there. And so basically granddaddied in that they love to use. So now I want to be able to, you know, encourage different kinds of faces in the crew as well.
Got you. I am going to try to get Abraham in here. You got anything to add for this particular question? Maybe. That's a negative. Okay. Sam, you want to add any?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, it goes in and out. Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries.
As far as how being diverse has helped me, you know, to navigate the industry. Is that the question we're still on? Yes.
It's basically like, what is that? How's that impact? Has it impacted your career in any way? How do you try to? I think the original question was, how do you try to represent and be, you know, in your Blackness and things in that nature while you're in your career path, on your jobs, etc.
Right. Well, so we know who we are. We're proud to be who we are, and naturally, I just believe being kind ultimately is what promotes, you know, people to being able to want to work with you, so forth and so on. And I have, as far as how I've implemented it in my work, I've done things from a range of literally gripping on movies to producing my own music videos with Sam, actually. As you guys, I think I might have mentioned, you guys heard that I worked with him. I've been in and out, so I've got bits and pieces of what's already been said. I'm sorry if I'm repeating anything. But yeah, being able to work with Sam on ideas that he wanted to bring to life, him and the artists, being able to kind of structure that production as like a producer, and being able to you know, as far as like anything that's necessary for the production, utilizing Black-owned companies, Black-owned businesses for you know, as far as vendors that you want to use for the production, and just, you know, using that ultimately to kind of get your message out there through your you know, your creative work, basically. So, you know.
No, that's good. Sam and Elon, would you guys like to jump in? Have anything to add to the conversation before we go to the next question?
Yeah, my sets, I love to have, you know, a lot of different diversity of people. I like to get, you know, I would like to just have a lot of people on my sets meet and greet and see, you know, their backgrounds, where they came from, so I can understand, you know, they're not only their job that they're doing, but just to understand them as a person. So, you know, even, you know, my wife right now, she's producing, and she says the same thing. She's like, she wants everything, because the set she's been on is basically a lot of just white people, and she's like, I think these things need to change. And she's like, since we have our production company, we should have it very diverse.
So I'm hearing that like one of the motivations to be your own boss in that way, to have your own company, is to be able to have the power to spread out the work, and to spread the work out a little bit in terms of and diversify it in that way, so that more people get more opportunities, so they can continue to build their own portfolios and their own careers. So it's basically just passing the baton.
That's what we should all do, and that's what we should want to do, not just see the same old thing. Like, it's so cliche to have the same team every time. I think we should just just shake it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Make the table a bit. I'm hearing. That's what I like to hear that. Elon, you got anything to add? That's great so far, you guys.
Yeah, just something quick, similar to Sam. Through Black Film Allegiance, we have a Black filmmaker database. It's a directory that has creatives from all different backgrounds, even internationally. So with that, and when you work in a development space, oftentimes people are like, okay, we need a Black such and such, or usually they say diverse. But I find that, like, and we know, as you know, people of color, like, yes, there are a lot of things that unite us, but there are many times where you need someone specifically to tell that story that has that actual experience and purview. So through that specificity is what we circulate our company around. And so I use any access and opportunity I have to share with other Black filmmakers and creatives in that way.
Wonderful. You guys, I'm going to, we're going to get to that high school students question and the high school student question. And then I have one question I'm going to merge together. And this is all from our Q&A from the audience, which is great. So the high school, Adam, who is in high school, he's asking, like, hey, he's starting to build his portfolio. I know you guys are all gonna have different types of portfolios, so you guys can answer this question from different spaces, so that's great. How does a high school student, this is someone who hasn't gone to college, but may have some things that they've done, I know everybody's experience is a little different. What do you think they should begin? Where do you begin when it comes to starting a portfolio? Let's start with that. Who wants to begin? Sam's got it. Go ahead.
I think the biggest thing is, what is your heart set on? What you really want to do? That's the biggest thing. And on top of that, find a mentor or somebody that can help you along the way.
Right. Because
you don't want to get in this industry and get lost. There's a lot of lost people out here.
Finding that mentor is also probably your first crack at networking too.
Absolutely.
That's a really great thought. So getting a mentor to kind of start there and figure out where you want to go into your career. Who else wants to start in terms of portfolio advice? Gina, go ahead.
Also, never think that what you do is not good enough. Every little thing adds up, keep everything, get one of those, you can get a binder or sometimes even like a photo album, for example, that have the plastic,
laminate, like a laminate.
Yeah, plastic pockets where you can start collecting stuff and putting it there to protect it, and you never could tell where all that where that collection can lead you. So never underestimate what you do, because when it comes to me, like, I have an O1 visa in acting, filmmaking, and producing, and trust me, immigration for all those who are foreigners, and if for high school children who are foreigners as well, immigration looks at everything. And I was very glad to have my collection, and I was not collecting it with the goal of, okay, getting an entertainment visa to go to the next country, but what you do is important, and as I would like to add to what my previous panelist said, get a good mentor, someone who will be real with you and honest. You don't want someone who will sugarcoat things and tell you things to feel good, because you wouldn't reach far. Work hard. Do not expect things to be handed to you on a silver platter. People will help you as long as they see you are willing to do the work. And what has annoyed me, I'm a very helpful person. I consider myself helpful. But what annoys me is when someone is trying to make it, and I experienced it after NYFA did the article about me, and someone just messaged me and they just expect things to happen like that. They don't want to do the work, and they just expect you to just dish out things. People will help you as long as you're willing to help yourself.
That's a really good point. So what I'm hearing about the portfolio is just collect everything you've done. You can decide whether what's worth your portfolio or not after you've literally collected all of your materials. And that doesn't,
Exactly.
again, this doesn't matter what, if you're doing a portfolio to be an actress, if you're doing a producing one, a writing one, it doesn't matter. Like that's all, keep everything you do.
Exactly.
And then go through it all and figure out what the best way to go, what's the best way, what belongs in the portfolio and what doesn't, especially since you're in high school. And then I definitely agree with what everyone else said about getting a mentor, especially since you're in high school and you're still in a very early stages of what your career might be, Adam. So that would be great. I'm going to take this other, I'm going to kind of merge a couple of questions that I'm seeing here because you guys have gotten quite a bit now. This one is from Falaki. Falaki, how are you? First, she says, "Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so proud of you all." This is for Elon specifically. How did you get your positions with Monkeypaw and Matthew Cherry? And could you also speak on what company she just wants to know what you got your BFA, in.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I think that I see the questions on here. I think sometimes we see say BFA as an abbreviation for Black Film Legion. So I think they're asking about that.
I'm sorry. Yes.
No, don't worry. So actually I started Monkeypaw because a guest speaker came and spoke in my business class while at NYFA. And he was just there to kind of talk about his experience in the industry and contracts and things of that nature. But I really appreciated what he had to say because at the time, this was 2017, he made a point of speaking about the missing Black and brown girls that had gone viral as an issue at the time. And I just appreciated and respected that he said, look, I'm here to talk about something completely different, but I think this is important. And so based off of that and sort of just having like a shared interest and passion for human survival, safety, but also as it relates to people of color specifically, I was like, okay, I respect him. I want to know more about him. So I asked my professor to connect me to him, and he connected me to my first 2 internships in LA. One was at Original 3D Force Animation in Culver City. And I was there briefly, but that was sort of a segue to the Mission Entertainment, which he had close friends with, and he really wanted me to connect with. Again, more people that were like-minded and cared about social issues. So at the end of my internship with them, they sort of asked, who would you most have interest in working with, and be specific in your goals. And so I always tell people to be specific because that experience sort of changed everything after that. Was that I said, I'd love to work with Jordan Peele. So they're like, okay, cool. We think we know somebody over there. And they connected me to the president's assistant at the time. And we're supposed to meet for lunch casually for a Q&A type of thing. But she ended up asking me to come into the office, and it ended up being more like a general because she asked about my thesis, my work, what I was into, and just so I got to talk about my actual writing. But from that, so she was kind of considering me as just a creative to consider, but I saw that they had 2 people there that were kind of my age. And I was like, okay, are they interning or what are they doing? And so kind of just created opportunity from there because it wasn't an open listing or anything like that. It's just I asked, and she was like, okay, I asked it.
Can you pause there one more time? You just asked.
I just asked.
You just asked the question. That's a really good point. Okay, go ahead. I just wanted to reiterate that again. Yeah,
because they don't know if you don't say anything. So yeah, I asked, and it was the thing is, oftentimes to be an intern you have to be a student. So definitely keep that in mind, everyone that's a student right now. But I had actually already graduated. This was just a couple months after I had finished it at NYFA. But she was like, well, let me see if I can do a recent grad type thing. Long story short, that worked out. And so that's how I ended up at Monkeypaw, started as an intern and got promoted from there. And then with Matthew and I worked together at Monkeypaw. He was a CE there while I was like rising in the ranks. So he was also a mentor and a good friend. So working with him has just been kind of a continuation of that same working relationship of like, what do you think about this? I'm like, well, this is what I think. So that's how that sort of organically happened, speaking on networking. Black Film Legions, I created in between NYFA and Monkeypaw, and started because I just wanted to create unity really across the diaspora. But at the time, it started with wanting to connect filmmakers that were students that did go to NYFA or different schools in LA, just so that the other Black creatives at each space would know each other. And it just quickly expanded from there. Yeah, so now with what we do with that, I mentioned the Black Filmmaker Database, the directory we use. If you are a Black creative, feel free to go to our website. I see that Jackie dropped it in the chat. Thank you, Jackie. BFAFilmmaking.com. Yeah, Jackie's on it. feel free to join that. But with that, yeah, I share that with other folks in the industry that are hungry to give back in any way that looks like. And so if you have materials that you want to pitch to a company, and we've had folks that have been able to do that, gain representation. So it's been very fruitful. And so, yeah, that's what we do in addition to doing panels. And sometimes we host events on Clubhouse just to sort of answer all of the pressing questions people have about the industry, especially people that either haven't graduated yet or are deciding do they need to move to a bigger city, all those different types of questions. We try to give feedback based off our different forms of experience from our team. Hope that answered your question.
I think that was wonderful. And that's great. And I also love the fact that you saw a need in something and you just, instead of kind of like letting it be a need, you just created it. So I think that was great. I know we're running close to time, but I think this is a really good question from Haley. I think it's Haley. I apologize if it's Holly. So if it's Holly or Haley, as a Black creator, you are more compelled, do you feel more compelled to make stories centering around Black life, or is it more important to make films outside of that narrative? And then they have in parentheses, like showing a multifaceted face of Black people outside of race-driven stories. So do you feel like, again, everyone here is in different spaces. Oh, good. I just told we have more time than I thought, so that's good. But do you feel more compelled to create stories about, the Black experience specifically, or is it just about showing multifaceted? Like, how are you guys navigating that, like your own creative ideas in regards to that? Whoever would like to do that one? I know who I would like to answer it, but I want to see anybody.
I've been running my mouth. I was gonna defer to someone else. I'd like to hear Sam or somebody answer, but I'll talk since I opened the mic. For me, I feel like it's always important just because I feel like it's important to create what you know and what you've experienced and kind of what your worldview is. And kind of speaking from a writing standpoint, there are other people that will do it if you don't, that don't share your background and are telling your stories and just painting them brown. So for me, it's personally always important, especially just like with the ever evolving nature of this crazy social climate. So I do lead from a place of social messaging in everything that I do, but I also see value in people creating something just for the sake of entertainment value, because that in itself is a privilege.
Absolutely. Anyone else? That's a good take.
I think for me, it's 50-50. I think we should have, stories about our lives and have, people understand where we came from and where we're going.
Sam, I want to add a little special tweak for you because you direct, correct? So like in theory, your vision is almost set within a bubble of what's given to you. Am I correct? Like, yeah. If you're doing a music video, the song is already written, right? So you're kind of taking that song and trying to make it visual, and hopefully the artist likes it. Hopefully the artist is gelling with what your vision is and the label and so on and so forth. So as you're a content creator technically, but do you have you found yourself ever in a position where you were trying to make something a little less offensive maybe, or like did you have to? Yeah.
I feel like this happens all the time. It happens like 24/7. Like, I'm not gonna give any names. I just did a treatment. The video never went through. I just did a treatment for, I say, a B-list, A-list artist, and I came up with the creative for it. This artist is about to drop a movie on Hulu this month, but they wanted something. They said the biggest thing they told me was raw. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be offensive. I don't want, this climate right now is out of control. So, I came up with the idea. Then, the label came back, oh, that wasn't good enough. We want something.
Not enough.
We want something super duper aggressive and strong. I said, okay, I give it to you. So when I gave them the treatment, they fell in love with the idea. They said it was deep. It touched them. They wanted me to show the realism of the climate that's going on, because they seen a video I previously done, I think a year or two ago, where I showed a Black man getting slammed by the cops, and in the midst of it, it was a, you know, a white person in the mix of it trying to help out the Black community and stand for the same things, you know, we all stand for. In the midst of it, he ended up in the video, he gets murdered. The white kid gets murdered for being in the way. And that, when we did that, you know, the label didn't like it. Nobody really liked it. The commissioner at the label fell in love with it, and she said, this is one of the best music videos I've ever seen in a long time.
So you were in a position where you were able to create a message within your art, and like, even though there was a bunch of no's, you got the one yes that made the difference, it seems. So that's really great. Anybody else want to chime in on this question? I know it's a fun one. Melinda, you have anything to add, or?
Well, I'll let Gina go first since she raised her hand. But
I don't know how did I miss her? How? That's because I have my question box over here.
So when I create, I do use stories from the Caribbean that I have pulled from my life, but I also I put Black people in position of power. Black people in my production so far have always had a major role, or major roles, I should say. Also, when I create, I tend to try and think outside of the box. You know, I don't like, I think one of the panelists mentioned it, I can't remember who, and one of the guys mentioned, you don't want to see the same thing over and over again, you know? So I really try to go to the extreme sometimes to make an interesting story. I also pull from my psychological background because I have a master's in counseling and a bachelor's in behavioral science. So, for example, my TV show that aired on national television in Trinidad named The Honestest Truth is about a police officer who is a kleptomaniac and compulsive liar. But despite that, she tries to do a good job as a police officer. My thesis film, From NYFA, Twist of Life, you have this differently abled character that draws with her foot, you know. So I really try to think outside of the box, and at the same time give people the opportunity to really showcase their talent, you know, as best as I can.
And giving people a chance to see themselves too, which is always
exactly, you know, give them, you wouldn't grow if you don't, as an actor, I should say, for the actors who are listening, you will not grow as an actor if you don't have a challenging role that will help you grow. If it's too easy, if it's too simple, you will not grow. And, you know, always try to jump for the opportunity to take on those challenging roles. When you look at those who are acting and win Oscars and stuff like that, is never a simple role, you know? So content creators, I think, should really strive to, yes, incorporate diversity and also try to think outside of the box sometimes, you know. Well, that's what I try to do anyway.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And Melinda, last but not least.
Yeah. So for me, like, it's very important to be able to show Black people and Black culture and like what that means and what that represents to us, and then be able to present it authentically. For myself, because I work at, you know, this corporate company, and this specifically like car enthusiasts, it's not necessarily a place where I can authentically do that. I mean, there are programs where we do have a couple of individuals who are in the car world that are non-white, But for me personally, and like personal projects that I want to do in the future, I definitely want to for sure show the different facets of Black people, because somebody from the South is totally different from somebody up north in Seattle. And it's like, but we're still Black. It's still Black culture, no matter what it is. Or like the throes of South LA or Inglewood to, you know, New York and Manhattan and Brooklyn and whatever. So for me, it's very important. Like I've been falling back in love with Black culture in these last 2 years. And I'm just so happy and proud and just in love with Black culture, whatever that looks like for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely have to.
I would like to add a little bit to what you just said, Melinda, just to kind of wrap this part of that question up, is the way you're saying that you're falling in love with, like you're falling back in love with Black culture again. And I feel like there's it doesn't mean that you didn't love it before. It's just one of those things where I think the world is, I would say the world is changing, and this generation is moving in a way where we don't feel like we have to water down ourselves as much to be considered professional anymore, as much as our parents might have had to. Yeah. And I think that's what, if I don't mean to speak for you, but I just feel like I feel like that's kind of in the room. Like, it's like, hey, we can be our own authentic Black selves in these professional settings. Mm-hmm. and that's what it is, because we're all kind of adjusting what professional has been taught to us, like professionalism has been taught to us, versus like what it actually is and what it actually isn't too, on top of that. I think that's an important piece. And the cool thing about this industry is that we do have far more freedom in that space than maybe like a more corporate job, for example, as someone who's worked them both. So I can state that as well. All right, you guys, there's some really great ones. We were talking about mentorship earlier, and I do want to add this. Christiana is asking, how do you go about finding a mentor? Anyone who's had a mentor can answer that question. I think that was Gina.
Okay, so firstly, in the US, I joined Women in Film, and I'm grateful for NYFA. Because it was through a NYFA networking event, I met Kim Ogletree. She is a producing teacher in NYFA at Riverside, California. Well, Los Angeles branch. And she introduced me to Women in Film, encouraged me to join, and I did. And Women in Film has a mentorship program for different fields in entertainment as well. You know, so I was fortunate to have the Vice President of Production and Development from NBC Universal to mentor me and other young ladies. Granted, I was the second Black person in the entire room, you know, in the entire group of mentees that they selected, you know, but my point is, try to join organizations that not only get a female, if, you know, this is for men as well, try to join organizations that can push you towards your goals and that have mentorship programs. So currently, my mentor, Lisa Wickham, she's a director and a producer in Trinidad and Tobago and a TV personality. Their film won for the Pan-African Film Festival last year, Hero, that film won, and she was the producer on it. And how I got her, that is through networking, actually. I was bold, number one, and I wanted her to help produce my show, my TV show. So I contacted her office, and she didn't have the time, you know, but I just stayed in touch with her. And as time went by, she started to be more of an advisor you know, and be more helpful. And it developed like that. And now she calls herself my mentor and I call her my mentor, you know. So sometimes relationships develop that way, and you can ask.
Yeah.
You can ask someone to be your mentor, you know, let them know.
Yeah, and I don't mean to cut you off, Gina. Because we are completely running out of time for sure.
Yeah,
that's okay. But just to kind of summarize what she said, it's really about it's not being afraid to just ask. You know, introduce yourself to someone. If there's a person that you would like to be your mentor, introduce yourself to them first and foremost. Don't be that person that just says, "Hey, I need a mentor. Hey, I want to be an actress." And it's like, cool, don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to really like introduce yourself to that person that you want to be your mentor. And again, like, take some of this information that we were talking about in regards to networking. Explain what you're trying to do. Explain what you can also give. If this person needs an assistant, that is a great way to get a mentor. Especially in this industry. If this person, even if it's a day of assistant for like one thing, and you do that extremely well, don't mess that up, because that could be your only chance at that particular door, right? You might have to find another one, you know, that's okay too. But just don't be afraid to ask that question. You guys, we are so over time, it doesn't even make sense at this point, but that's because the conversation was really good. There are questions that we did not get to. Panelists, if you don't mind, I would love to send these questions to you. And if you would like to answer them, you know, manually, please let me know. Maybe we can have another one of these. That would be great as well. And we can maybe get to the cues that we didn't get to tonight. But other than that, y'all, thank you so much. All the participants who are here listening to this conversation, we thank you all for being here tonight. Panelists, y'all are like some of the best of our best. We really appreciate you for taking your time to talk to us. And a big suggestion, I know we've already started this, but let's network with each other, okay? We know that Sam and Abraham have worked together, but I know that there's other things I'm sure that all of us can work, that all of you all can work on together. And any alumni that is here on this lovely panel, and everyone who's just listening, if you're an NYFA alumni, hi, my name is Dre. You can reach me at alumni@nyfa.edu, and I am here to help you for any way I can possibly can. You all have a really, really good night. Happy Black History Month. Have a great week. And I'll see you all next time. Thank you.